Why would they do that? After a full weekend of no DNC, they just lull us into this false sense of security. And then like...
So are these the ones that you picked?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the same ones you always pick?
For Denny, yeah. I figure what works against Ghost Police.
Right, so the easy phase.
Yeah.
You only always have to do?
Yeah, it's real bad.
So you picked some classes already?
Yep. Heretic and Denny1.
Did you have a quick table
Well, you don't have to.
Were the names on your stream correct on this stream? Because on all other laptops I saw there were the wrong factions and names on badges.
The one on that one over there.
On both and behind.
Really?
On the left one, Jarla played Signa, and it was paired with Grymkin.
Oh. No, I thought Martin had.
I noticed too late, and Martin was playing the longest game.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're going to be changing them now. Once they've decided their table sides, I'll get.
You only can change this, right? The other one has to be changed manually?
You have to do it manually. So I think Marcin is just setting up that one right now to make sure that's all correct. So I think we're good there, and I'll make sure to check that second laptop for the second table as well.
Marcin is already doing, yeah, right?
Yeah, so he's already working on that one, and I'm not sure if we're also streaming from the second channel. We'll have to see. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you.
Seemed to be correct.
Okay.
Because the laptop was closed in the last time.
Exactly. We are coming to you live from the ClogCon2017 Invitational. We are about to start round 2, featuring Jonas versus Pat. They are just deciding which sides of the table they want to play on and agreeing to making sure that all the scenario elements are placed correctly before they pick their respective table sides. After that, we'll get the graphics in working order, and we will, in the meantime, take a look at the scenario that we have going on and the table that we're going to be playing on. So the scenario that we have is a breakdown, also known as the dumbbell scenario, featuring 3 scenario elements all located on the midline between the 2 players, featuring a centrally located rectangular zone that can be scored by warjacks, battle engines and warcasters, flanked on either side by a circular zone that can be scored by infantry and warcasters. The 3 zones are actually all touching, meaning that there are significant opportunities to potentially score 2 zones with 1 warcaster, assuming they can be cleared. However, this is not one of the highest scoring scenarios, having only 3 possible elements to score per turn. Some of the other scenarios having a total of 5 or potentially 6 elements. So we're going to be seeing the roll-off very shortly here. We already see a 6 on the table. We're not sure if Pat has just conveniently placed that 6 on the table and is now convincing his opponent that that's what he rolled. And it looks like we have a decision to see who is going first and who is going to be setting up on what side of the table. And it looks like they're both going to
go first.
Pat will go first.
They stay that way.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like Pat has the first turn. So let's get the UI sorted so that you guys don't get confused. Let me just get their caster lists.
Fourth time on the 3.
Really? You still need the list? It makes me feel safe, okay? So, we have on the right-hand side, we have the Cryx being led by Denny1. This being a list that Jonas has played not only very successfully this weekend, but also successfully on the stream right here. including a very one-sided game against Toby's Trollbloods. So we may be seeing a rematch of that particular game happening in round 3 potentially. But right now we are going to be seeing Jonas with his Denegro 1 going into Pat's Grymkin, which have been absolutely tearing through the field this weekend, having won not only the Champions event on Friday, but also having helped win his team the team event yesterday. Pat is on a bit of a winning streak this weekend, and we're going to see if he can continue this winning streak and basically become the ultimate European War Machine champion with this Grymkin army of his. And Patrick will be bringing his Heretic list. Unfortunately, had I known that this were to occur, I would have brought my Patrick Dunford WTC shirt that was personally given to me by him, probably out of guilt. That being the first time I personally had the pleasure of playing against Patrick Dunford at the WTC back when he was still playing Signar. And as a young, up-and-coming, wet-behind-the-ears Cryx player, I thought I had a good chance with my Denegro 1. But Haley 1 and the combined powers of Signar, Haley 1 and Patrick's incredible ability as a player resulted in one of the worst ass-kickings in this game that I've ever received in my life. And he felt so bad that he decided to give me his shirt, which I still proudly wear at War Machine events to this day. Okay, so the players are just getting all of their models ready, and whilst they're getting their table ready and their tokens and everything sorted and assembled, we are going to take a look at the respective armies that they have brought. Now, we're going to take a look first at Jonas's army. This is a list that I personally, as commentator, have become very familiar with over the last couple of days. I believe this is the third or potentially fourth time that Jonas may be appearing on stream, and I believe this is at least the second, if not the third time that he is bringing this particular Denegro 1 list, which is in the Satixis theme. We are looking at a Denegro 1 with a battle group consisting of 2 Stalkers and 2 Death Rippers. We have 2 maximum units of Satixis Raiders with the UA. We have a maximum unit of Blood Witches with the UA, which most of the time will be in ambush. We have a unit of Crow's Cutthroats, a maximum unit, that is. We have a unit of Gunslingers, and we have a Ragman. So this particular list is incredibly light on support, having only Ragman for support for that extra needed armor crapping capability. And for the rest, it is just pure meat. And we have seen this list, and it is frankly quite terrifying. It is very fast, and if this list gets the first turn, then it is able to build up an incredibly overwhelming lead in terms of table position. But fortunately, Patrick has successfully implemented his strategy of winning the die roll and allowing him to go first to deny Jonas this crucial table position advantage that he would receive from going first. Now, Jonas, even though he is going to go second, is still going to be able to have a fairly good table position simply because of his speed. add to that there will probably be some Satixis Blood Witches coming in from a flank later on, usually on the opposite flank to the Crow's Cutthroats. We have seen Jonas perform a complete envelopment of his opponent's army multiple times. So Patrick has just finished deploying. So let's take a look at the army he has, and then we'll take a look at the deployment he chose. So he's bringing the Heretic in the Dark Menagerie theme list. In terms of Arcana, I believe he has the Heal Arcana, whereby once a model is destroyed, he can heal every model in his army back up to full. He has the Trump Arcana, and I'm not sure what the third one is. I will go and check for you in just a minute. So he's in the Dark Menagerie theme, and he has brought 2 Cage Rages, he has brought 2 Skin and Moans, 2 Frightmares, a Gorehound, a Rattler, 2 Crabbits, both of which are free, 4 Gremlin Swarms, all of which are free, and a Death Knell. So the Gremlin Swarms being a huge pain in the ass for a lot of War Machine players. The things that they can do to disrupt your opponent's plans are fairly incredible, and for a 0 points investment, they can get a lot of stuff done, and they can cause a lot of headache for your opponent. So Jonas just setting up here and favoring the deployment we have seen pretty much every single time now that he has played this list, which involves a long line of Satixis Raiders, an aggressive, a centrally located Denegra, which will usually then go for a very aggressive push. In this case, we may be seeing a walk to here, followed by a top of 2 feet around here. He always puts a Death Ripper on each flank, as we see here, and we're just going to be seeing what the AD is. Yeah, he's going to go straight into his AD now, Patrick not having any advanced deploy, and then we see the 2 kind of centrally located stalkers with an ability to go for the flanks, to act as contesting pieces, or to put themselves into or behind particular terrain features, and then utilizing their non-linear threats to make these kind of naturally occurring safe zones on the other side of these obstructive pieces of terrain, to make those unsafe. Barskemanen letting us know that Patrick has now indeed calculated the optimal line of play and is going to be implementing this. So what we are seeing here now is the Crow's Cutthroats going down. Now Jonas does this regularly by deploying the Crow's Cutthroats off to one side in order to push forward aggressively and then reposition and roll around one side of the flank while the opposing flank is pushed by ambushing Blood Witches. And then usually in about turn 3 or 4, these 2 forces will come together whilst the 2 massive blocks of Satixis Raiders making up the damage portion of Jonas's army, which will be enabled by 2 arc nodes that will be putting down preferably a Parasite and Crippling Grasp every turn from a centrally placed Denegra who's going to be arcing those spells. This allows Jonas to approximately take out 2 heavies a turn with fairly decent reliability, and is something that Patrick is going to have to take into account. I'm just going to go take a look at the exact placement of Pat's models and also which Arcana he's chosen. So the Arcana that Patrick has chosen are in fact Ruin. He has also chosen Sacrifice, and he has his Trump Arcana. So Ruin and Sacrifice being his 2 chosen Arcanas. and we're going to be seeing how he's going to play this, and how he's going to chew through all of these models. Pat has to be very aware that Jonas is going to be able to just simply remove heavies that Patrick leaves around carelessly. But as some of you may already be aware, Patrick does not actually ever do that. So he is going to make Jonas pay for these heavies. If Jonas wants to take any of these heavies, he's going to make him pay for it with significant retaliation. That is definitely something that Jonas can count on. He's not going to be able to get away with just getting a free snipe on a heavy because of his longer threat ranges. If he takes any heavies, and in this case he wants to be taking those lovely skin and moans quite early, then he's going to lose things in return. And the question is, how many Statixis Raiders will he lose on the return, and will the remaining forces have enough armor cracking capability left, especially once the Negra feat has been used, to take out these heavy war beasts? Okay. Okay, so in terms of distribution of forces for Patrick right now, we have a Rattler down here making up the right-hand flank. We have two Gorehounds, one being right here next to the Heretic right here, and the other Gorehound being up here on the hill. So these... oh, I'm sorry, I believe he only has one Gorehound. Yes, so the Gorehound is up here on the hill, and... oh yes, he has two Frightmares. Okay, so I believe we have a Frightmare here and here. We have some Gremlin Swarms dotted around. We have two on the right-hand side and two on the left-hand side. And also we have one Crabbit on each side as well. Flanking the Warcaster, the Heretic right here, we have the two Cage Rages in the back and the two Skin and Moans making up the front. Heretic, of course, like all Grymkin casters, having an insane spell list. And Jonas just conveniently, once again, moving the clock, which tells me that he plans to put his Crow's Cutthroats basically here. Which is a maneuver that he does very consistently with this unit. They are very good at performing this maneuver with that 5-inch reposition. I think, and I personally am surprised not more Cryx players use Crow's Cutthroats, especially the Denegron players, because they do their job, this particular job, better than, in my eyes, any other unit in the game. The inherent stealth is fantastic. The decent guns, I wouldn't call them great, mainly because of their low rat. Decent-ish guns, but with backstrike, potentially very threatening guns, do the trick, but it is the 5-inch reposition that takes this unit to 11. So if you have a caster or an army that is able to leverage things such as armor debuffs at range, then Crow's Cutthroats can be very, very powerful. You can easily keep them very safe, and you can allow them to just chip away, doing little bits of damage here, cleaning up potentially one flank. And that in SR 2017 is a lot more powerful. These flanking zones often are areas of the table where sometimes players will choose just to send 1 or 2 models there. And if you have a unit of Crow's Cutthroats there that is able to clear that and then roll up the flank, then you can inflict significant casualties on their support line, and you can threaten the scenario quite expertly. So we see Patrick now having finished his turn with 55 minutes left. Jonas is currently on 53 minutes, obviously having taken longer to deploy his massive army. He is now just going to be placing the Stalkers just outside the Skin and Moans, I believe 10-inch standard threat. Patrick asking Jonas if he would like to remain just inside the Skin and Moans threat range, but Jonas not rising to the bait. He understands that Patrick is very capable at the mind control techniques that are associated with his victories, and has obviously trained to resist them. Patrick being one of the most casually appearing players on the surface, which just goes to show the incredible skill of his programming. The Patbot has been known to just demolish entire metas by himself, but always does so with a laugh and a smile on his face, which lures the enemy into a false sense of security and puts them in a position where they realize only too late when Patrick has performed the optimum play and shattered their hopes and dreams. So Texas Raiders just setting up outside the 10-inch threat of the Rattler.
Yeah, that might be why they had to do it.
Hoping to leverage their 12-inch threat against it. Wait, so Texas is speed 7, right? Yes, Bars Commander. Here, the Patbot's human behavioral blending in subroutine is running at optimum efficiency right now. Having personally witnessed Patrick last night playing the last remaining game of the finals in the team tournament, the respective teams having one victory each at that point, and playing down to the clock with his opponent, ending the game at, I believe, 30 seconds and 9 seconds left on the clock, with 9 seconds being left for Pat. I was struck by just how calm he is when he only has a minute left on his clock, and the fact that he has the balls to, in that situation, still do multiple combined ranged attacks in order to try and kill a few infantry models with his infantry. That was something very impressive. It is something that he calculated down to the second. He knew exactly how many dice rolls he had to make. He knew exactly how many infantry models he wanted to kill, and he filled in those 20 seconds until the end of his turn perfectly, and it was frightening to behold. So we may be seeing a situation here, depending on how conservatives. Yeah, so we're looking at a fairly conservative positioning here. So we are looking at the ultra-conservative, reliable, I'm going to keep 100% of my models outside 100% of your threat ranges approach. This is something that you can absolutely do in the first couple of turns in the game. You can sometimes even do it to weather an enemy's feet. But you have to be aware of the table position that you may be sacrificing in order to perform this maneuver. Now, in this particular case, Jonas is not actually giving up any table space, or very little. I mean, the Satixis in the bottom, for instance, he could have run them up to here to say, oh, I want to more securely claim the zone, but then he's just giving Patrick free models, and one thing you never want to do is to give Patrick Dunford free models to kill, because he will punish you mercilessly for that mistake. So just getting the placement on the unit attachments and unit commanders set up. Yeah, so he's going to be placing his flanking arc nodes, which are going to be sitting somewhere near the stalker positions. We're approximately 5 inches behind it. He just wants to keep these guys super safe for now. Nothing is worse as a Denegra player than getting one of your 2 arc nodes sniped for free early on in the game without you even having had the chance to use them. Arc nodes are definitely something you don't want to be losing until turn 4 at best. And then you should only be sacrificing them to do things like contest zones that are absolutely critical. So Jonas now just considering his caster placement. As with any turn 1, you are essentially not playing out your turn 1, you're planning your turn 2. So he's planning his turn 2 now. He is going to want to see where he wants to leverage his feet. So yeah, so he's looking at a feet range of up to about here if he were to position Denegra there. So he's just going to measure that out. We can see the 14 inches, maybe from the top view even better. So the control area on Denegra 1 looks to be just potentially clipping those 2 skin and moans, meaning that if Patrick advances even an inch with either his caster or these war beasts, then Jonas will be in a position to feat next turn with Denegra and then move her either laterally or backwards to safety. And he shifts his clock. So now we're going to be looking at the top of 2, and we are going to be looking at, I'm not sure what Pat is measuring there. He doesn't have any ambushes, I believe. Here we go.
4 of it gets taken off by Gremlins.
So Gremlins doing their bit for the Fury management of the army, taking up 4 Fury from the War Beasts.
Oh no, it's because he's camping one. That's fine. It's 4 gets taken off. 6 goes back, and then he's got 1.
Here we go. Bringing the Heretic back up to his full 7. So now we're going to be seeing a cat and mouse game. Both players want to bait each other. Patrick Dunford wants to bait the Denegra 1 feet from Jonas, and Jonas has to bait the Arcana from Dunford. We're gonna be seeing a very interesting interplay between those 2 things. So both players trying to utilize having to utilize a few pieces that they are going to put knowingly in the enemy's threat range, and trying to bait an exaggerated response from their opponents. So if Patrick moves in, for instance, a War Beast here, he's going to want Jonas to commit, for instance, an entire unit of Satixus Raiders. With the correctly timed Arcana, he's going to be able to do a fair bit of damage to Jonas's army, making sure that he uses his focus to buy volume of attacks, and he's going to have to make sure that his War Beast can really get stuck into a nice couple of clusters of Jonas's infantry.
I'll take it.
So what we be looking at, maybe looking at here, is a commitment of a few Frightmares and potentially a Gorehound in order to pull out some of, bait out some of Jonas's infantry. He does want to get these Skin and Moans loaded up with corpses, and he wants to do so in such a fashion that the turn after they have been loaded up, they are able to act. So he has to make sure that the few kills that he gets don't expose him, and the best way to do that is to offer Jonas a few light War Beasts. And we're going to be seeing a scatter here. So Yeah, so we're seeing a scatter probably looking at about 3 hits here
We need to scatter this AoE. It's from him.
from this Frightmare, I believe.
We're seeing, we think it hits this and this. What over?
So the players are just discussing right now whether the scatter 3-inch blast template is going to clip this model. The judge just being called to verify the line of travel.
Yeah, so it's just that.
So once we have resolved here just how many hits we're going to be getting from this scattered Frightmare shot.
Try and restart. So it's just him. Last damage. Yeah, I'll boost it. It's power 7. Your armor.
So we have a corrosion going down. We have a boosted blast damage roll going in on the Stalker. And unfortunately we can't quite see Jonas's damage grid, which is unfortunate. Okay. So we have the beautifully tempting Frightmare located tantalizingly close to the Satixus Raiders. And we're going to see just how many more pieces Patrick is going to put into position for the peace trading to begin. So first, Skin and Modes is going to tuck in right behind this forest here, contesting 2 zones and hoping to avoid an alpha strike. Now, in terms of line of sight, let me just try and draw this out a little bit. In terms of line of sight, let's go for the top view to see how many models may potentially be in position to go in on this Skin and Moans. And we're looking at probably the bottom 2 Satixus Raiders. Yeah, so I would say somewhere, probably these 2 Satixus Raiders here do have line of sight, and they should be able to, if utilizing their Pathfinder, to get a charge lane here. And then if Jonas wants, he should also be able to just walk the Stalker here to put down some damage. After utilizing a flanking arc node here to drop a Parasite onto it. So we're looking at a potentially fully loaded Stalker and 2 Satixus Raiders going in on a Parasited Skin and Moans next turn if Jonas decides to make that play, which would be obviously putting Pat in a position to take potentially this Arc Node, this Stalker, and a number of the Satixus Raiders in return. So we have the second Frightmare now activating and dropping a nice little blast template on this cluster of Satixus Raiders right here. The Frightmare is being located here and here. So corrosion tokens going down. And this particular cluster of Satixus Raiders is actually a very good cluster to hit, because they are in a perfect position to start engaging this Cage Rager here. So Pat is going to want to... Ooh, he boosts the blast damage roll and survives. The lead witch survives. I believe that may be the officer.
I knew that one was coming. Also easy.
Yeah. So here we're looking at probably the most potent weapon in Patrick's arsenal against this Denegger 1 list, namely the Wall of Fire that has just been put down by the Heretic. And with this positioning right here, basically the entire center of the board now has become one giant roadblock. We have a question from the audience about which unit was rebuked. I'm just going to go and take a look for you. Oh, that's unfortunate. So, Patrick actually attempted to rebuke this unit of Statixis Raiders here and failed to hit with said rebuke, and then did it again and failed the boosted rebuke against this particular unit. So no units have been rebuked. The Heretic is completely empty, and yeah, that is a major part of Pat's strategy that did not pan out. Pat getting diced pretty hard here, so he's going to have to position conservatively now, and he is going to have to ride out this storm. Yeah, so a very unfortunate result there, but I think it's not at this stage in the game something that will cost him the game. He was able to bring his Warcaster back to safety to make sure he doesn't get assassinated for the misspell. That's something that in the late game is much harder to pull off. He is not. He has the Wall of Fire, which allows him to largely negate that particular unit of Statixis, which means that even though he didn't get the rebuke off, he still is in a position where he's probably not going to be taking a lot of damage. Correct, Orberus Ryan. The Fort Heretic has now been almost completely assembled now. I believe we just have a Rattler here left to activate, and I believe this Gorehound up here. So we have the fort being constructed, almost fully constructed here. So we have the strong double contesting pieces in the skin and moans on either side. We have also the Gremlin Swarms being placed. We have the anti-magic capability of the Cage Rages being placed in such a way as to provide 2 anti-magic bubbles. Okay, so they're like this. So two nice little anti-magic bubbles like such. We have the entire army, of course, being within the Death Knells aura. We are going to be seeing gremlins dotted around to help with both the Fury management and to block landing sites for enemy models going in on these war beasts, thus minimizing the chance of any of these models getting one-rounded by a large clump of infantry just going in. And so he's just finishing up now his turn by positioning the Gremlin Swarms, and we're going to be seeing a fairly similar position as we see on both flanks. We have this little tag team of Skin and Moans and Cage Rages, and then he's going to flank those with the Gremlins in such a way that Jonas is going to have a real hard time getting models into melee At least he's going to have a hard time getting more than one model into melee. The Gremlin Swarms being notoriously difficult and annoying to remove may potentially, in this game, over the course of 4 or 5 turns, keep Patrick's Warbeasts alive, and may potentially make the game for him. Orbrus Ryan asked, did the rebuke miss? Not only did the rebuke miss, but the second rebuke that was boosted also missed. So no rebuke on the table, only the wall of fire to keep him safe. And let's see what Jonas decides to do here. He is picking up his Blood Witches and is probably going to be ambushing this turn, most likely on this side of the table here. So with the deployment and run, usually they'll come to about here or so, this general kind of area. And the Blood Witches are not going to be having a problem with any of these Gremlin Swarms. They are actually just going to chew right through them. So we may potentially be seeing quite a strong-ish play for this particular zone down here. Or he may potentially move to attempt to threaten the caster from both sides, in order to potentially set up a turn 3 or turn 4 assassination run whereby an Arcanode comes around either this side or this side and drops a Scourge, after which either Blood Witches will go in for the melee or Crow's Cutthroats will come in with gunshots. Pure hyperbole at this moment, because right now the focus is going to be on the peace trade. This right here now are the battle lines that have been drawn. Pat's going for a compact and easily defensible position, which will allow him to, at the very least, tie out the scenario score. Whereas Jonas going for the double envelopment via the right-hand flank and the left-hand flank, combined by an eventual push down the middle with the Cetixes. The problem is that the combined crowd control and table control elements of this wall of fire and the rebuke, which unfortunately Patrick missed last turn. Oh, the Heretic is immune to knockdown. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be? Yeah, that's totally normal. Absolutely, he would be immune to knockdown and spells. In addition to having like the best spell list in the game, one of the best spell lists. Anyway, so the chances, so the Scourge knockdown assassination is not viable. And not being able to get things like Crippling Grasp or Parasite onto his opponent's caster means that Jonas is going to have to play this. He's going to have to play this out, and I think he knows that. And I think he is just trying to position himself now. I think he's going to want to use these Blood Witches to definitely get rid of these Gremlin Swarms and to try and get rid of this Gorehound over here and to help do damage to this Skin and Bones. I think if he manages to do 2 out of those 3 things, he could be fairly happy with the Cetixes Blood Witch activation. Although now we are now reaching equal clock time, both players being on 43 minutes left on their clock. Jonas now doing the bottom of 2 and is going to be the first player in a position to score, but that seems very unlikely. Given the fact that this Skin and Moans will likely survive. I don't see... Well, we have some Cetixes gunslingers. I believe this one back here may also be a gunslinger that might potentially be able to get rid of one of these gremlin swarms. Maybe, I believe, yeah. Potentially this gunslinger might be able to go through here and remove this gremlin swarm. Okay, so we're seeing, I think we're quite, yeah, so we're seeing a measurement here now for a feet. Feet placement would be here, with the 14 inches. So we have, looking at 1 and 2 targets to survive the Genegra feat unscathed. This looks like it's probably going to be a fairly defensive feat. I'm not sure how much work Jonas is going to be able to get done this turn. I think the main damage output is going to be coming from this Stalker, these Cutthroats, and then 1, 2, 3 Satixus Raiders maybe? I don't see how many more forces Jonas is going to be able to bring to bear here. This wall of fire is really killing his charge lanes. So Jonas is just checking his charge lanes in the bottom to see how many Satixus Raiders he can get into the Skin and Bones. And I think he's going to be able to get 2, but those 2 may only be able to get in at max reach, meaning they're not going to get an opportunity to use their horns. So just getting a quick judge call to get the line of sight onto this particular Skin and Bones for this third Satixus Raider here is a very close call. And yeah, so we're going to be using a physical bump measurement technique. And it looks like the Satixus Raider does have line of sight. So it's just checking. So let me just take a look at how many corpse tokens the Skin and Bones have. Okay, so we do have indeed 1 corpse token on the Skin and Bones, which with the aura from the Death Knight will bring his armor to 19. We're going to be able to push that down to 17 with the Genegra feat, hopefully allowing the Stalker that has been fully loaded to do a little bit of damage here. So Jonas activating Genegra here, going for the placement that he had previously measured out for the feat. And
So that's everything except those 2.
yeah, and that's his activation. So he's just going to be camping. I'm not sure how much focus he is going to be camping, if any. He seems to have fully loaded both Stalkers. And Ragman is now going to use his magical walking stick to try and kill a gremlin swarm.
He's not a battle wizard, no. He's not a battle wizard.
He's going to... oh no. Something appears to have gone horribly wrong for Jonas. I'm going to call a judge to just measure this here. We may be seeing... we're just seeing a 3-inch measurement.
Not made by Jonas. Do you want me to put this?
So we have a 3-inch measurement here to see whether or not the Cage Rager has a 3-inch range on the Ragman.
then he will spend 1 to cast it.
And he's going to spend his corpse token to counter the death field that Ragman was about to put on himself, having stepped just a millimeter too close to the Cage Rager. I'm assuming here that the plan was to get the death field to enable the Stalker to do significant damage here. That now having been countered by the Arcane Vortex, which Patrick was able to do because there was no more threat of any arced spells like Parasite or Crippling Grasp going down from the Denegra, having already activated and spent all of her focus this turn. So very good use of the Arcane Vortex here to really skew the dice. The incoming damage... Oh.
What does the whole thing is on?
Rewind.
Yeah, just read the text to us.
While within 300 model, turn them off and dark shrouds. Fill less than 1 color.
Oh, maybe it doesn't target then, because it doesn't have the stat line, right?
Apparently... Oh, here we go. Okay, so apparently Deathfield may not be a targeted ability and as such may not be able to trigger Arcane Vortex in the first place. So we are going to... yeah, we're gonna... So the game has been paused now. We're just going to check this rules interaction out here. This is fairly complicated, but very critical as to the outcome of Jonas's turn. That +2 to damage is going to decide whether or not that Skin and Moans lives. Because if the death field goes off and Jonas is able to get those 3 Statixis Raiders into melee and the Stalker, then we could be looking at a dead Skin and Moans here. And potentially 2 dead Skin and Moans if he can get the right flank Skin and Moans shot down by the Cutthroats. So, very critical moment for both of these players. Both players having come up with a brilliant idea and now running into the question of whether or not their individual ideas worked or not.
Yeah, it's when you target a model within 3 inches, so I can't stop it if...
Yeah. So the player's just talking through...
They get a spell that targets it on model within 3.
Yeah, so Patrick is unfortunately limited in that he can only trigger Arcane Vortex only if a model within 3 inches is targeted. The Death Field ability from Ragman not having a specific target and apparently not being a targeted ability. So Death Field does indeed go down for Jonas here. The corpse token for the Cage Rager being returned. So the plan is in fact back on, as Jonas rightfully says. We're going to be seeing here if he can take this heavy war beast out. So he's working now. Jonas is now planning his activation. Is probably going to use the right-hand side unit of Statixis to aid in his attempt. Oh no, he's just going to activate. Yeah, so the bottom Statixis are going for it. So he's going to be going, probably sending 1 around the side and then 2 into the gap here, making sure not to take the free strike. And not having to worry about these gremlin swarms when it comes to positioning. So he's going to be at the very least getting 2 in, and it looks like he did indeed get the line of sight for the 3rd Statixis Raider, and she is going to be able to push in all the way. So she is indeed going to be able to push in all the way to get those horns of hers going. The 3rd Statixis in the back is going to only be able to get her reach. So we're looking at a total of 4 attacks here from the Statixis Raiders. and we're looking at a potential clear for the bottom zone. Now, in order to score this zone, Jonas is going to have to get the entire unit of the Texas Raiders within that circular zone, and I don't think he's going to be able to manage it. Partly because of this Texas Raider here, which he is positioning right now to also get the charge off on the Skin and Moans. Yeah. So he is not going to be, thanks to this Texas Raider right here, which belongs to this bottom unit, I believe. Yeah. He is not going to be able to score this zone, even if he were to clear it, which is not necessarily that big of a deal. I think he's going to be very happy just taking the Skin and Moans. And it looks like we're going to be able to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charging whips going into the Skin and Moans. But I'm not seeing a landing spot for the Stalker right now. So just positioning the UA to be as safe as possible.
Alright, so let's do some attacks.
So Barska Mannen Patbot did indeed have an encyclopedic knowledge of the game rules, because he was actually correct. The judge having double checked and verified that he was in fact correct when he made the realization that Death Field is not a targeted ability. Okay, so we're going to be seeing some damage rolls now. Here we go. Jonas is unloading into this Skin and... Oh, wait, he's going to clear the... Okay, Gremlins first. Gremlin Swarms. So there we go. There we have the landing site for the Stalker that I was just talking about.
I'm 13, 14, minus 2.
Forced to hit there. Barely gets it.
I'm 19, minus 2, 17. Oh, minus 4.
So we're looking at dice minus 5 for these damage rolls here.
Shouldn't that be 3 dice? No, because it's judge push. Oh, that was that one. Oh, so that was that one. Right, yeah, I'm with you.
So that was, I believe, a charging horn attack from one of the 2 Texas Raiders that was able to get within the half-inch distance of the cage. Of the Skin and Moans. Removing the second Gremlin Swarm. And now the charge attack from the whips are going to be coming in, the lacerators.
I'm 15, 11, so 4.
And once again at dice minus 4, so we may potentially be looking at a dead Skin and Moans here before the Stalker even activates. Oh, another 4 to hit. Jonas just barely getting by with his to hit rolls, but doing fairly well on his damage rolls. Doing another 7 damage. Skin and Moans having taken about 21 or 22 points of damage so far. Ooh. Taking another 7 damage there. It looks like these Texas Raiders are going to be enough. And there we go, another massive damage roll. And the Skin and Moans is dead, having been pretty much obliterated by 5 Texas Raiders. The 6th one actually proving to be overkill. Now, this is something that we had seen coming. This is something that Jonas's army does very well. It will now be up to Pat to find a way to kill these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I believe 6 Satixis Raiders and Ragman over here. These are nicely clumped, so he should be able to get some work done here. But he's going to send in the Stalker now. This Stalker has been fully loaded, hasn't had to spend any focus on movement shenanigans, and is going to be able to, I think, just put 5 attacks in here on this Cage Rager.
You are base 20 or? I'm 19 plus.
I believe he also has range on this particular Crabbit right here, so we may be looking at a cheeky Crabbit kill. Yeah, so Jonas going for the Crabbit first. Sitting at defense 11, this is probably going to be a fairly easy kill. So the Stalker does indeed have Dark Shroud. So we're looking at dice +2 here on this Crabbit, and that thing is just going to explode. Oh, so it actually takes his initials, both of his initials, to kill the Crabbit. Despite the massive damage roll in the beginning, the Crabbits actually have a surprising number of hit points. It was left on, I believe, 1 box left, and then the second one did it. And so now we're buying the attacks onto the Cage Rager. And at dice -5, we're only doing a few points here. We've done, I think, 1 damage so far. And we're going to do another 3 points there. So another 2 points there. So, very minor damage. So it looks like we may have a free path for walking. This kind of maneuver only being achievable by walking, because you are not limited to straight line movement. So we might have a Satixis Raider that is just going to advance past here, and that's what we may be looking at.
Oh yeah, you would check.
Yeah. So Jonas just sneaking his way past this wall of fire by playing the advance instead of the run charge order. He's really sucking in his tummy whilst he's trying to get past that thing, but he manages to get a Satixis Raider through the gap, which Patbot in his initial preliminary calculations obviously took into account, but has apparently decided that it is an acceptable risk, only reducing his probabilities of victory by 0.018%. And as we all know, the Patbot does like to live on the edge, and laughing in the face of death and potential defeat, he has decided to take this risk. So we're looking at a defense 14 here because of varying spells and abilities and obstacles, and needing a 6 on this attack up top here against this Gremlin Swarm. So the top Gremlin Swarm is removed. The bottom Gremlin Swarm survives, thanks in part because of the obstructing terrain that this Satixis right here had to fight over. So defense 16 there, really doing good work. There we go. So the flanking maneuver now continues on the behalf of the Crow's Cutthroats, they being very wary of getting countered by this particular Frightmare.
I'll just keep betting on this board every time.
And we're going to be seeing here now what damage. So Jonas is not bringing his Crow's Cutthroats to bear on these war beasts here. And I believe he's not even taking any attacks with them at all. I'm not sure if that is entirely the right play, but time will tell. So he's now, so he, after having cleared the zone, he ambushes, he maneuvers the ambushing Styx's Blood Witches to score this bottom zone and to start the scenario clock for his opponent. Which should be taking Jonas to a 1-0 scenario lead. Pat having lost the Skin and Moans and a total of 3 Gremlin Swarms and 1 Crabbit so far, with incidental chip damage done to one of the Cage Rages. So we have black penny shots. So the mutineers are attacking now with black penny shots into this particular Crabbit here. First shot doing 4 boxes. Second shot doing 5 boxes. A second gunslinger missing his first attack and trying again. And missing. So with the black penny, it does in fact hit. Yeah, with the black penny and the rat 6 will hit, and we have a damage roll going in for. Yeah, so the Crabbit has been removed. So now 2 Crabbits down, 3 Gremlin Swarms down, and a Skin and Moans. We have a repositioning of the right-hand flank arc node. And a movement from the Stalker, who walks through the wall of fire, taking 7 damage. Jonas wanting to get the maximum value out of this Stalker because he did go through all of the effort of loading it up with 3 focus. And the question is now, what is he going to be going for? So I think we're going to be seeing a leap here. And the question is, where is this leap going? So he's going after the Frightmare, it looks like. That is a good choice. So nice squishy target, and we'll see if he's able to kill it with the Denegraphy and remaining focus that he has. Seems unlikely. 4 more boxes. Chipping away. Misses the attack.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Oh, yeah. High mats and the Denegraphy apparently goes a long way. And we have the last attack coming in now. Oh, gets a nice damage roll there. And he's
alive.
He leaves the Frightmare on, I believe, something along the lines of like 3 or 4 health. And Grievous wounded. We'll see if any aspects have been taken out. Fortunately, Patrick not having to worry about upkeeping Rebuke, seeing as he actually missed it twice last turn. So at least silver lining in terms of focus efficiency there. Being free to try it again. And this turn, that rebuke really is going to have to land because otherwise Pat is going to be taking a lot of potential damage. We're almost certainly going to be seeing a wall of fire going down here.
I don't know. I think he's going to go here first. I know he's -2 mana, but he can pretty much chew through a lot of that.
Oh, the Rattler.
The Rattler can go for a lot of his sixes.
Yeah.
Mind you, he's -2 to hit.
Also -2 to speed, which might...
Yeah, he can walk there. He's got Pathfinder.
Yeah, so I mean, Pathfinder, but he's down to speed 4, I think, speed 5.
Yeah, inch reach.
Feet.
He's not far away.
Oh. Speed 5 should get him to about here.
Yeah.
Something like that.
If you can take those 3 out and put a wall down.
Yeah. So advance to round about here, kill those 3 Satixus Raider, and then put down a wall approximately like
He's
this.
still going to get hit because they're all range 2, but
Yeah, he'll get hit over the wall, but he will
he can get Rebuke out, like you said.
block up this side of the board.
Yeah, definitely.
He doesn't want this just rolling up his flank right now.
Oh no.
I'm not an expert when it comes to rats, but doesn't seem good.
So we now apparently have 2 Australians in attendance.
What have we got?
Both Tom Guan and Adeptus Ron over here.
Tom, how's your cards going today? I hear you're playing in a GP.
I'm sure he's doing very well. We'd just like to have a moment of silence for the death of Tom Guan's War Machine career. His name obviously being stricken from all records.
Did he play at WTC?
He did, but that was his farewell tour. Yeah.
We'll still see him.
Of course, Tom Guan will always be around, even when he's not supposed to be there, and he's in a country where you would never expect him to be. He is the international man of mystery in that regard, certainly. You will be missed, Tom. Your ability to fall asleep in the middle of a party and a game was in fact legendary, and your fashionable collection of scarves will be sorely missed in this mainly t-shirt and jersey dominated world of War Machine.
Oh, Frank.
So the Patbot is just continuing his calculations and is looking for a trajectory here to instantly win the game. Having not found it, he's probably just going to settle in for taking a whole bunch of Jonas's pieces whilst minimizing the scenario bleed. We're probably going to be seeing a contest of this bottom zone with probably just the Rattler, potentially a Frightmare or a Cage Rager over here, but that may at this point be overcommitment in that regard.
So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see any sort of silly play from Pat here. He's sitting on Denny's feet. He's extremely clever as it is, and we all know what he's like, but Pat will never go for a silly assassination. He'll grind this out.
Absolutely.
And Jonas is not out of the water. He's not got a guaranteed win here by any chance. I mean, it's looking good for him, don't get me wrong, but we all know Pat can pull a rabbit out of his arse.
Pat can pull out of anything.
I don't want to know what he goes into, but whatever you say.
No, this is definitely not a one game by any stretch of the imagination. In terms of table presence, Jonas definitely is bringing the heat here. Having gone for the single envelop instead of the more traditional double envelopment with the wide flanking blood witches in order to try and accrue a scenario advantage, which I think in this stage of the game against this opponent is a wiser choice.
direction 5, distance 1, 2, 3, towards Ragman 1 inch. Yep.
But do which else? Let's him do it. Let's see which other guy do it.
This guy from him, direction 5, 1 inch.
Oh, it's getting really technical now. Pulling the judge in.
So the judge is just being asked to check a blast on the... of course, because at the end of the day, the judges also need stuff to do. And nobody knows more than us how much judges enjoy, in particular, measuring blast deviations. This being one of the most exhilarating calls that a judge can have in the course of such a game. The Frightmare, in this particular case, I believe catching Ragman, which is kind of a big deal, and also at least one Satixis, tagging them with the corrosion, and is currently being taunted by his opponent. Jonas seeming all too eager to catch more corrosive 3-inch blasts. So apparently Jonas having something in mind here, feeling pretty much invulnerable with his overwhelming weight of numbers. He has to be careful that he doesn't let the hubris get to him, because the Pat Bot is about to engage his attrition routines and start removing pieces from Jonas's center.
Get the word is scalpel out.
Absolutely, and I believe that there are 2 stalkers right here that are not going to be long for this world. And they're going to be one of the few pieces that have a legitimate chance of actually being able to take out this battle engine with their leaps. So if Jonas loses these 2 stalkers here, that's going to impact his damage output significantly. Especially as Pat is going to take measures to protect his battle engine and therefore protect the rest of his army.
Oh, Pat's pulled out. He's not doing what his plan was.
Oh no, he is.
He teased him with a tip and pulled out at the last second.
It's just letting Jonas wait in anticipation a little bit more whilst he plans out his Warcaster movement. So we see the proxy base going down now. Okay, so we are going to be seeing the second Frightmare going for it, and he's just removing the model so that he can...
Gorehound.
That's a Gorehound.
That's a Gorehound coming around the arc.
Ah, there we go.
11.
So we have the movement being plotted out here, and it looks like this Gorehound might be able to catch himself some Satixis Raiders. Can he walk through his own models?
He's proxying it out, so he wants to...
He's assuming that he'll
yeah.
activate this after he's activated the Rattler.
That's correct.
Yeah. So possibly the idea being, instead of sending the Rattler into this cluster of Satixis here, if the Gorehound is able to do so, one could potentially send the Rattler in a little bit lower or into this other cluster over here, allowing you to really take out maybe that many Satixis Raiders.
Also known as a statistic clusterfuck.
Yes. That is the disadvantage of having to send in that many infantry models to take out your opponent's heavy war beasts, is that they are in perfect position next turn to be completely annihilated in return.
Alright, this Frightmare has to...
So what has Pat lost so far?
Pat has lost 2 Krabbits, he has lost 3 Gremlin Swarms, he has lost a Skin and Moans.
Ouch.
Yeah, the Skin and Moans that was contesting right here got taken out by 5 Satixis Raiders. And he's had a little tiny bit of chip damage to this Cage Rager, but nothing of note. So in terms of damage output, Pat still has enough to get the job done.
So the interesting thing is here, Pat really needs to clear this central zone, contest both the outside zones,
Yeah.
and then start scoring. And I think now that Denny's feet's out of the way, it's a lot harder for Jonas to get that major damage in. As long as Pat can rebuke those Satixis on the bottom.
Oh yeah, we definitely need a rebuke to land this turn for Patrick, or else he stands to be overwhelmed. Very curious to see what was going to happen with his Skin and Moans here. He's probably going to be forced into position to keep him where he is. Yeah, so he's going to do that. He's going to keep him where he is just to toe in and contest this top zone, which is a very smart play, and he's going to be using this building to shield him from any potential charges. So
nothing silly.
we may be looking at 2 Satixis Raider charges in return, but that is something that the Skin and Moans now is going to be able to take with the Death Knell aura and the lack of the Denegra feat.
I don't think the crows at the top can do any damage either. They probably might be able to get
really.
a couple of points maybe, but they're just not. Unless they get in the rear.
Potentially they might be able to do something against this battle engine if they go in here and get some backstrike bonuses on their crossbows.
On the shooting?
Yeah, on the shooting.
Do they get it on the shooting? I thought it was just the blades.
No, it's, they always have the extra d6 from attacking in the rear arc.
Okay.
So we have Xobi.
Oh, Pat must have heard you because he's turning and he. Yeah.
We have Xobi mentioning that he believes that Ragman also needs to die.
Where's Ragman?
Ragman is just sitting pretty right here. That was actually one of the reasons why he went for the Frightmare shot over here, was to try and get a sneaky kill on the Ragman. The Ragman obviously now being a huge part in Jonas's arsenal in terms of armor cracking, having lost the Denegra feat in order to trade it for a Skin and Moans. He's now going to have to utilize some way of getting a parasite or a crippling grasp down on some of these war beasts.
The problem is
he has to get through the arcane vortex, and as these corpse tokens start piling up for these Grymkin war beasts, it's going to get harder and harder for Denegra 1 to push any kind of magic through here.
Okay, line attack on him. He's dead.
So we are clearing out. There we go. There goes the first Stalker. The Cage Rager going to town.
That's it.
So we have a Stalker down here, and we may be looking at the Satixis next to him.
So
Oh wow! Oh no! We have the Heretic. We have the Heretic who just went in and soloed both of these Stalkers.
Oh, he's a boss. He is a boss.
Like the boss that he is, he has just waded right into the middle of the table, and he is standing approximately 9 inches away from Denegra, face to face right here.
How many Furies he got?
He's
Okay,
got, yeah. So going for the YOLO play here. So he's got 4 Fury left, and he has more than enough war beasts to tank any damage. And obviously, being immune to a knockdown and being immune to spells, I think the Heretic is just not afraid of Denegra.
Here we go. We've got a fire going out.
There we go. So we have the wall being proxied right now. So it looks like the Gorehound is going to have a much easier time now that the battle engine has vacated the space.
Down to 2.
So we're probably going to see the Rattler over here and the Gorehound over here, although he may potentially keep the Rattler even further back.
Gorehound's in there.
Gorehound's going in to contest the bottom zone, so technically Pat doesn't need to commit anything, doesn't need to commit this Rattler. He's probably going to just kill a sneaky Satixis Raider right here and right here.
If he keeps the Rattler safe in order for next turn, that Rattler will just chew its way through those Satixis.
Yeah.
I mean, they're defense 14.
Exactly.
But the Rattler really doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's really
And he
good.
will
Fantastic
move
piece
on
of
the back of
equipment.
this lady. See, it goes down to death 12. I'm at 4,
So-
so I need an 8.
Here we
Needing
go,
8s to hit on
Hits it like
the
a boss.
on the Satixis. There we go, and that's why that attack was so crucial. He is loading up his Cage Rager with corpse tokens. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Did you get a hold of their lists?
Yes, we have them right here.
Have you taken photos of the list?
No.
We'll do it for the final.
Do it for the final.
Yeah, I may not be here for the final. I, think
Somebody
I
needs
may
to
have
do
to take off
Who
after
needs to do
this
the top
game.
4?
Yeah, we might need someone to cast the final screens.
It's only 3 rounds. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's only one more.
Marcin's lost already, so Marcin will be here to look after
The Polish dream is has been crushed here at the Invitational.
Snatched from the jaws.
Although, no, maybe Rafal still... Is he undefeated, Rafal?
Yeah.
So he still has a chance. So the
He's
Polish
playing
dream
Trolls.
is still
Madrak.
alive. So what appears to be a supremely bold and reckless play, which actually turns out to be fairly safe. I mean, we are looking at a caster who's got 2 Fury, who is surrounded on all sides by heavy war beasts and battle engines. He's got a wall of fire covering his flank. He has enough Fury to do transfers. He's not looking at taking any huge hits from his opponent, having just killed the 2 Stalkers. And he is looking at a table position whereby Jonas now has to very seriously consider the idea that he may at some point just be assassinated. Dennegra1 being completely alone right in the middle of the table. She is going to have to probably spend this turn running away. So we're seeing the corrosion here now.
That's looking good.
It is looking good. I mean, Jonas has the scenario. I think that was a huge play by Pat just now in terms of equalizing the game. I think he really has a good opportunity here. Oh no.
What's that?
That is a small proxy base. We might be seeing Dennegra herself go in.
No, she's well out. She's well out.
Well out.
Stop getting too excited. Good Tom, what are we going to say?
Let's take a look. So,
Oh, look at that. She's well out.
that's not. That's.
Jonas is just trying to put the willies up on the big man. Pat don't care. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Although Jonas does seem to be seriously considering this possibility here.
Do you know what? I think Jonas is getting flustered. His face has gone bright red. His hair's getting messed up where he keeps rubbing it. You know? He's
He may be feeling the pressure of being in the Invitational on live stream, being commentated on, especially when the commentators are sitting this close to the table, whereby the players are sometimes actually able to hear the commentators, especially when they talk a lot of shit. So,
and you're full of it.
and I am indeed full of it. I could do this all day. In fact, that's what I have been doing for the last 2 days. So we can just keep this party train going almost indefinitely until, of course, real life calls and demands my attention again.
What are they measuring?
So Patrick having
What was that measuring?
a little bit of a measurement fit to, I don't know, measures a 10-inch threat range for something.
Through the house.
Okay, so Jonas is very seriously considering the possibility of just shooting the Heretic to death here. He does have 3 Satixis gunslingers.
They're scraps.
And just verifying that Patrick is in fact towing into the zone with his Warcaster. So we're checking ranges here to see how many aiming shots he can get. The Heretic's medium base coming back to bite him in the ass a little bit here by making it easier to get line of sight. But the question is, are 6 Satixis guns enough to do the job? My gut feeling says no.
With Ragman?
With And I think that may be the play here, is to go for the Ragman, which we now know can't be countered by the Cage Rages. To set up the Ragman here, to send in Denegra here, probably being forced to charge this model here in order to get a legal charge. That all depending, of course, whether or not this is 2 inches. It looks like it's been measured out, and I don't see any situation where Jonas would leave this proxy base lying here if this was not 2 inches.
So what's blocking the way there? What we got?
We have
Cage Rager on the bottom.
We have a Frightmare and a Cage Rager right here, with a second Frightmare here, and the last remaining Gremlin Swarm. Now, the last remaining Gremlin Swarm is going to be a bit of a pain in the ass because it's going to be applying that -1 to hit, which may be just that subtle little dice modification.
What we got there?
That's
the Gunslinger going. Is that it?
No.
Yeah, here we go. Gunslinger.
Oh yes, yeah, he's going. He's going with the
moving.
Gunslingers. So the Gunslingers are going in, and I think they're going to go ahead and pull the trigger here on this. Yeah, so we have 2 aiming Gunslingers. One has maneuvered to get a line of sight.
And you're shooting what is the type mana? Is it all just power 10s, isn't it?
Yeah, power 10's armor 16, I believe.
16. Armor 16, 2 Fury left on the Heretic.
And he's got. Is that including the Death Knell?
I'm not sure.
Death Knell's 8 inches.
Yeah, Death Knell Aura definitely is going to be applying here. We see a
here we go.
9. 1, 2.
He's hitting. He's shooting Heretic.
He is.
Shooting Heretic.
He's done 2 boxes already with that first shot. I'm going to take a look at the top view to see if we can get a look at the damage grid.
He's done 2.
He's done 2.
That hits.
Second shot, third shot is going in.
Misses.
Is not going to be doing any
That does no
damage.
damage, though.
And we have a 4th shot, which is going to be hitting because of the aiming bonus and doing a nice spike. Another 2 damage. Chipping away. Misses the 5th shot and re-rolls the dice because it was cocked. It gets the 6th shot in and is going to get another nice 3 more boxes. Okay, so the Heretic has taken 7 damage so far, and we have yet to see Denegra go in. So this is going to be the play of the game here.
Heretic's got 2. If Denegra goes in and fails this,
It's game over. Absolutely. This is I think this is just going to be make or break here. So Jonas is just now going to be.
it looks clearer with Jonas in the way.
Oh, there we go. So he's checking, and it does look like the small base fits in there at max reach. And it definitely looks like she's going to have the range. Yeah, so we're doing now the Ragman positioning. You can just see the 3 inches. You can see the head that is measuring the 3 inches to the right here. So we have the Ragman with the 3 inches going to the back of Denegra's base over here. So we really are going to be seeing this assassination run, ladies and gentlemen.
Ragman's just moved from here into there.
Oh, wait. Oh, you mean here?
That's not Ragman.
Where is Ragman?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is.
So we see some remaining activations going on here now. In the case, sorry?
It's casting Ghost Walk onto the statistics on the left.
Oh, Ghost Walk, okay.
So that's 2 focus gone from a stack.
So he may be trying to utilize these Satixis Raiders to get in an extra few swings on the Heretic after Denegra has gone in.
So I'll give him 2.
Should be able to manage them, but maybe get 2 in there. If they snake their way 3. So he looks like with the Ghost Walk, he should be able to get 3 Satixis to pile in.
Or B.
Yeah.
If he moves his hand, there's 1 in front of the Cage Rager.
Yeah, so there's
another
one here, yeah. And then I think
there's
there's
another
like
one
2
next to the Wall
here.
of Fire.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Yeah, so these 3 Satixus Raiders are going to be looking out to help out the Negra in this assassination run. So Denny deciding to spend 2 focus to give out the Ghost Walk here. Would you rather have the 3 Satixus Raider attacks or the 2 swings?
If all 3 Satixus Raiders get on, they've got CMA. So
That could be what it takes to seal the deal. One big CMA. And then making sure to do it from a model that is within the death field.
Yeah, if you target a model in my control area with this.
Okay, so Jonas.
nudging.
Nudge Gate 2017 here. Fortunately, not critical in this point in the game, as we already know that it is possible to get for the Negra to get the melee. So, Pat is now on the clock. This is probably having to do with some Arcana shenanigans, and he has cast. Oh, the heal! I think he just healed himself.
There we go. What did he kill?
I do not know.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah, let's take a look at
I'll
what.
take it.
Okay, yeah, take a look at what Arcana he just played. It can't be Ruin because it is Ruin. Okay. So we have Ruin being played now by Pat. That's the heal one, right?
I believe so. This is Trump.
Oh no, then it's not the heal one then.
No, Ruin's the one that stops a spell.
Ah, okay. So no spells going down here. Not sure
So that's-
why.
So what's that stopped? Ah, maybe that's stopped.
Maybe the
Ghost
Ragman?
Walk.
Ghost Walk?
Yeah, maybe that's the Ghost Walk being stopped.
Just grab the card. Grab the
No,
card.
it's any spell within his control range can be negated,
Oh, right.
and
So.
then any upkeep spells get negated while within his control area.
Ah, okay.
So
So.
if he allowed him to put Ghost Walk here,
Yeah.
and then when he tried to cast Ghost Walk up on the unit up here, he turned it off. So this unit lost Ghost Walk,
Yeah.
because what's this? I'll go there.
Yeah, so we may be looking at Patrick using his Arcana to counter Jonas's play here. And this is it. And we're going in here. So he decided not to go for the healing Arcana in order to get the...
Well, the healing Arcana
was not going to get triggered,
No, it
exactly.
can only be triggered
yeah,
when a,
yeah. Jonas was going to take care not to trigger the healing Arcana, so Pat decided to counter the Ghost Walk on these bottom
they've
Satixus
got
Raiders.
Ghost Walk on them still.
Oh, still. So he countered their Ghost Walk from the top Raiders.
I'm presuming so.
Yeah. So he used his Rune Arcana to stop these Satixus Raiders over here from getting Ghost Walk. And now we're going to be rolling the dice out, and
So he used 4 focus already.
yes,
I'll go check his
yeah,
focus.
he's used, yeah, because we have 2 Ghost Walks from the Denegra, and now we're going to be seeing a Jonas's multi-moving proxy path for his Satixus Raiders being plotted out to the millimeter now.
It looks like Denny's got no focus on it.
Denny has no focus, so she's going to get 1 charge attack and that's it.
She's done it. We're going with the Satixus now.
Oh no! Did Denny fluff her charge attack?
Well, Pat sat down and he's got 2 Fury still on him. So,
Oh my goodness!
so basically,
I think this might.
if Jonas doesn't do enough damage, on,
He needs to do 3 individual attacks, and he has to spike all 3 of them.
yeah, basically. So if one of them doesn't kill the Heretic, then that's it.
Yeah, so he is going to be in a position now where he has to get exactly.
So
He can't get the horns. There we go. He can't get the horns. He's going to be limited to only 3 lacerator strikes at best. That is assuming. Jonas being overcome by Nature's Call, I believe, or is running to get a particular. He's getting a widget.
Oh.
So Jonas running.
Does anyone know anyone that makes widgets?
If only there was someone who
Only somebody
had
made
the
widgets.
know-how and the technology.
Oh my god! If only we had Muson Mini steppers here.
That's right. Yeah.
That would be.
Those Muson Mini steppers really would have done the trick in this situation.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
It looks like we're going to have to make do with this improvised solution that we have here that has been cobbled together out of cardboard and duct tape. Do not let your eyes deceive you. No, sorry. We're just messing around. So Pat breathed a sigh of relief knowing that he does not have to deal with the half-inch range horns on the Satixus Raiders, meaning that he has to face a maximum of 3 attacks.
Well,
Three individual attacks, 2 of which he's going to be able to transfer. So not only does Jonas have to hit all of these 3 attacks, he has to crank the damage roll to the point where Pat has to transfer the first hit, has to transfer the second hit, and then just takes it on the third hit and dies.
The best thing is if Pat survives this with godlike power, the Heretic doesn't even have to try to hit Denny.
Oh, he's just going to smash her.
She's going to bend over. She's going to get that really driven into her, and she's might cry, but she's a big girl. She can put up with it.
She'll definitely put up a brave fight.
She will do.
For the first 15 minutes or so. So we can indeed get the second Satixus there, who's going to be swinging through across here, just making the 2-inch reach. And now we're just going to be looking at the third Satixus Raider, who's probably going to tuck herself into this position right here to get the 2-inch swing across there. So he definitely has the distance.
Yeah, there we go.
But if he can get it maybe across, can he get it across from here? Because that would allow him to get maybe a 4th Satixus Raider in here if that is an option. Maybe he can get 4, ladies and gentlemen. He cannot get 4. Unfortunate.
See, the real interesting thing on everyone's lips right now is Jonas being from Norway. We're wondering actually, if he finishes this game in time, he will be able to get his taxi on time.
Absolutely.
I mean, this would be fantastic for his travel plans.
Oh yeah, the planning is probably part of Jonas' strategy to just go for the turn 3 assassination attempt, regardless of his opponent or the table position.
Just to get the taxi.
Just to make sure to get that taxi on time. As we all know, of course, the Norwegians have very strict homecoming rules when it comes to being back in time for dinner after a convention. Norwegian women obviously being such fearsome creatures that the men do not dare to cross them. And that's why we're seeing such a heavy-handed enforcement of this rule.
I believe the rule was placed by Yala at WTC.
That is correct. Yeah, I believe that's where the tradition was established. If any of you have ever met, hello.
What's that?
Going on over here? Are we seeing?
Okay, he's still got 2 Fury. So,
but is this the same unit of Satixus Raiders? Where did
that just come from?
I think.
Here we go. That was by the house, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was by the house, but I'm not sure if it was the same unit. Did he just forget?
No, it's a different unit.
Yeah,
it's
but
the northern unit, so he's got 2.
Yeah, but what about these attack rolls on the Heretic?
He's done them. He didn't do anything.
What?
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Holy crap! So
look at Pat. Go and check Pat's health.
Maybe he took 1 box, but
yeah, that unit's done. Yeah, no.
Wow. Okay, so the 3 Satixus Raiders that managed to get into the Heretic.
Pat's got 8 health and 2 transfers.
Managed to get down to 8 health, and so now we have 2 more Satixus Raiders that are going to try their luck here. He may potentially get one attack with the horns.
No, it looks like he's getting both. He's going to get 2 CMAs.
2 CMAs.
What are we doing? A charge here with horns or whip?
So we have a charge attack off of the horns.
Yeah, both. Hits.
Hitting. Needing a
11, 13 effectively, so 4.
dice -4 here.
Okay, he needs. Okay.
That's going to get transferred.
No, it's not. Oh, it is.
Yep, transfers it.
So what's left after this?
Oh, nothing.
Is that any?
Oh, no. He shifts the clock to do the transfer. We have one more attack going in. One more charge attack. We have the... Oh, no! The charge attack misses! We have 2 non-charge attacks. Oh, and he's missed as well. This is it. And a third miss.
I'd love to know what that assassination was.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have the concede from the Cryx player there, having fluffed a whole bunch of attack rolls on the Heretic after Patrick Dunford very aggressively pushed his caster into the middle zone, forcing Jonas into a position whereby he had to go balls to the wall and go for the caster kill, utilizing his own caster as part of that assassination run. However, due to the high armor and the 2 fury that was left on the Heretic, Patrick was able to survive the Denegra, the 6 Satixis Gunslinger gunshots, the 5 Satixis Lacerators, and the 3 Satixis Horn attacks that Jonas managed to bring to bear. Obviously, the assassination run here would drastically have been improved by either a feat or a spell. The problem being here that the Heretic is incredibly resilient to assassination, being immune to spells and knockdown.
Okay, so on the other table, we've got Tony Jennings against... what's his name? Can't remember his name now. That's really bad.
I mean, Rafal against Toby? Yeah,
Rafal against Toby. It's 2-0 to Rafal.
Okay.
And Toby's not looking in a great place, but they're only on turn 3.
Ooh.
So it's interesting.
Okay.
So it's Dark Coast Scar into
Madrak 1?
Madrak 1.
So on the other table we have the Madrak 1 Scar 1 matchup going on between War Room PL's very own Raphael, and he has a very nasty Scar 1 list with double Bane Riders, 1 max 1 min unit, and double battle engines. That really is quite scary to face, especially during the feat turn. So pretty sure what Pat's pair is right now. Yeah, so Pat's pair is the Heretic and Old Witch 3 today, having played, I believe, Dreamer and not sure what else on the other days. Yeah, so Pat definitely has a very solid Dreamer list. I believe also in the Dark Menagerie team with 5 heavy War Beasts, with I believe 2 Skin and Moans and 3 Cage Rages. Yeah, exactly. So the Dreamer list that Latassa is talking about right now with the 5 heavies is what Patrick brought to the team tournament and the Champions tournament on Friday. He has now shown us this particular Heretic list, which also seems fairly brutal and I believe is specifically built as a Cryx counter. And having just seen this performance here, I think we can all agree that it is a very solid list. In that it has a lot of tools that are really able to put the heading on a list such as the Negro 1 with the incredibly strong anti-magic potential, the the attrition ability of the heavy war beasts when positioned correctly to take on large numbers of models and still come out on top in the long term, and the abilities such as Rebuke and the Wall of Fire that really hinder your opponent. Rebuke actually not having gone off once this game, with Patrick casting it twice early on in his second turn and missing both times, including the one time that it was boosted. So despite the fact that his Rebukes didn't go off, he was still able to control his opponent's army via clever placement of his models, use of terrain, especially these two features here. I mean, this forest and this, especially this building right here, really functioned as a fantastic anchor point in order for these armies to be able to really play to their strengths. Kudos to both players for their play. Jonas for playing a very well placed and very aggressive Cryx game with the very solid and reliable push into the middle, getting the kill onto the Skin and Moans, which was a fantastic start for him. But then Patrick countering with a probably unexpected and unforeseen counter push with his caster, taking out two Stalkers in the middle of the table himself, and then forcing Jonas into a position whereby he has to go for the assassination, which did not pan out. So it looks like Patrick will be heading to the finals here of the Invitational, and he's going to either be facing Toby with his trolls, whose pair I believe is Kalandra and who's that other guy? The axe guy. Madrak 1. And or he may be going into Raphael's Cryx, featuring a I believe Scar 1 and Witch Coven pairing. No, Scar 1 and Denegro 1 pairing.
That's why we didn't roll. It was just like
So we'll be breaking for lunch now.
6 shots.
And then we'll be coming back to you for the finals. I will unfortunately not be in attendance for the finals, as real life has called me back home. So we will try to get some guest hosts for you, potentially including Marcin himself, and maybe yours truly, Mr. Andy Williams, who just joined us here for the commentary on this particular game. So keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned on this channel. We will probably be returning with the finals very soon. I will check for you right now and then let you know.
It's lots of 7s to hit, and then it's lots of chip damage.
Yeah, and then like I did one technical mistake, and that was going with these before Denny, because shoot the but it didn't matter. I think it basically comes down to
yeah, I think
that swings it like
with the black penny, you'd have left me on like 1 box.
Yeah, but if she hits and you shadow mine, then it's
oh yeah, then I'm really dead.
forced. Then
So it's a very kind of coin tossy assessment.
yeah, I think it's about 10.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I have one here, and now that my feet is gone, I will never be able to put the debuff stuff here, because these are all important. He will be
He can't cast a spell the rest of the game.
I can cast, so he'll be able to just put this guy here, and now I'm the cheaper way on him, and this guy will be here, and he's just standing here, firewall and everything.
Basically what will happen is for 3 turns I'll kill Satixis.
Yeah.
And
standing still.
eventually he'll block.
Maybe.
On his feet turn he got Skin and Moans, which was very good, and he was able to score a point.
And
which is excellent. Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's what she was supposed to do, but she failed. She had to fail as well.
That was cool. It's a cool face off.
I gave it a good go, so
Yeah, it was good.
where is Momo?
Power. That's not the problem.
Jonas, you know it's at lunchtime now?
It is, you can smell it.
Let's see. Is it lunchtime now? When are we playing the finals? It's 1:30.
Played on the page 5 minutes.
But
In like an hour or so, I guess.
is it like a final or sorry? Is it a final or no?
You can play if you want. You try to start at half. We see if it's possible.
Same time. He's the nicest guy, right? Friends, interrupt our conversation. No, I had a very good.
There was the right decision to go for it, but I had Denny, I had 3 walking sixes, I had 4 aiming shots, 2 non-aiming shots, and 2 starting and then he wanted and then we go for with the 10, and then after that
So it's like 50.
you had the wrong side.
I'm not like the 4. That's a bit amazing to play on.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
I lost the first one after losing the first one because of my whole next I just made some stupid prize. I actually scored 4, so it was just a huge result. I scored 1 and I didn't manage to 3 and I didn't want to continue. Almost as good.
It's another Marcin. Okay, right. It's another Marcin.
Okay.
I just saw like Marcin. It's a combination.
That was important. I think it's better. I'm away from my guys.